June 4th order at 6:01. Hearing on utility disconnects.
I'll make a motion to approve disconnects.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public comments? No public? Attorney Judd Garst, adoption of the ordinance business.
So, this is the ordinance that was introduced at your last meeting, and there's been, one very slight change to it, and, rather than print out the 48-page ordinance that had the two places where the changes were. The changes, there is a definition on page 5 and page 19 that describe what were the net revenues. The sentence says, the revenue bonds will be payable solely out of and constitute a first charge against the net revenues. And then in parentheses, it says, herein defined as gross revenues after deduction only for the payment of the reasonable expenses of operation, repair, and maintenance. And then she added this phrase, excluding transfers for payments in lieu of property taxes. Close parentheses. And so I don't think that even applies, but maybe she's just trying to reserve that for the future, but it's inconsequential to what you're doing. You don't have final payments, do you?
Yes.
You do? So she's saying that's not to be considered as part of the net revenues.
Okay.
So it's excluded. That's the only change. So that was introduced at your last meeting, and on page 46 is the signature line that will need to be signed tonight if you're going to proceed with the bond ordinance. And there are two copies there, one for Trevor, one for me. And if you pass it, then I will run notices in the paper that the bond ordinance was adopted.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance 2026, and we're going 0521A.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And other than advertising, that's all right.
0521.
You sticking around or you want to leave?
I'm going back to the office if I need it, so it's up to you. If you need me for anything else, it's up to you.
Would you rather sit here or go back to the office?
If you need me for something particular, I'll stay. If you don't, I'll go back and look.
The only thing, and I don't think, it's just up if you're interested, is we're gonna be discussing the actual size of the bond tonight.
So I saw this went up to $2 million, not to exceed $2 million. I'll stick to it.
You can move that up if you want to.
You do it in the order that you were going to do things. I'm okay.
Clear back to 46. There it is. This is one of the thicker ones that passed around in a while. Where's that?
It's under the wastewater budget.
Okay, so that's
It's
next
kind
on.
of David and me together, so
Okay.
I put it up there.
Okay.
So,
Next anyway.
It's next anyway, so, Mr. Dave, you're up.
Do you want to lead off, you want me to?
I can lead off. So, we have to, be in a bond bank. So Jared will be, our finance person will be going to the Indiana Bond Bank meeting on Wednesday. And in order to do that, we have to, let them know exactly what we're gonna borrow. So we thought we were gonna have time to, work with the lowest bidder, that we had the meeting to do the accept the recommendation. Now we don't have enough time to do that, So Dave can tell you what he has found, what conversations he has had, and then I'll discuss some more.
So I started looking at this kind of from the minimum, maximum kind of viewpoint. If the base bid was all that was accepted, and the rate impacts and the bond level that's associated with that, or both the base bid and alternate 1 and 2 were selected as the max scenario, and the, I guess, total budget, bond sizing, and rates that would come with that. We have had just high-level discussions with the low bidder. Now that you have done the intention to award, or I guess with the recommendation to accept our recommendation with award contingent on financing. We also have that as your next agenda item after we have this discussion on kind of just how much the town is willing to spend on the project and what your priorities are. It's not as easy to just sit down and cut one thing and say, this is gonna get us there. We're gonna have to probably take quite a few things out of the scope of the base bid, and see what that will allow for adding in either alternate 1 or alternate 2. Alternate 1 and 2 are both sewer lining segments of the project.
Which is highly needed,
It's highly needed,
because that'll help us get out of IDIM
Yes.
issues, right?
yes, and there is a large section, in fact, larger than either alternate is included in the base bid for sewer lining. So there's about $800,000 of work at the plant in the low bid, and then the remaining is all in different sections and segments of sewer lining that we've identified. The highest priority section is in the base bid, and then the next highest is alternate 1, and the next highest, in our opinion anyway, is alternate 2. There are some things that we've identified to value engineer scope out of the work at the plant. The biggest ticket item in that is going to be the enclosure around the screening, the structure around the screening equipment that has been susceptible to freezing. That would probably be anywhere from 125 to 150,000. We haven't got that exact number because it involves other trades, and it's not just one updated quote, primarily electrical stuff. So that will bring it down, but we do not have an exact number on that yet. And really no can we until you enter into a contract with that contractor. But these bond discussions and what you're going to set your budget at have to happen now so that Jared can go forward with getting the application in the first place. So we're trying to establish the ceiling of what the bond will be so that we can cut as much as we need to out of the scope of work primarily. We always have the option to not do one of the sewer lining segments of either alternate 2, 1, or in the base bid. And there is some assessment that we would like to do with the contractor to determine if every manhole that we have called out is actually needing to be lined or repaired. We can get some of them are in fairly good shape or decent shape compared to the ones that definitely need it. So can we eliminate some costs there? What else? There are some other decisions that we would like to be able to discuss with the work group of the town, primarily, the operator and Treatment and Russell, because we expect everything for the equipment to match your existing equipment on clarifiers. There could potentially be cost savings to allow different manufacturers to be considered an equivalent. But that would mean you have 2 sets of stuff to have to maintain and repair, and two different parts lists for 2 different manufacturers. But given your priorities of which is more important, is that worth living with that scenario going forward in the future to get, say alternate 2 added back in. So there's going to be quite a few moving parts and pieces to this analysis that we are in the middle of, if you will. But if we set a target of something closer to the base bid, which the base bid was $1,026,000. Alternate 1 was another $138,607, and alternate 2 is $71,429. I think it's actually 430, but don't worry about that. Yeah, I think they had a math error, but the rates that were in your presentation from Jared, Jared and Brandon. I guess we're looking for direction from the council as far as what you want, the highest rate you're willing to pass, and then we'll go from there to hit that during the project. And it might mean that we won't be able to line on some of the segments of pipe. there's also a need to replace the wearing equipment at the plant as a part of this project, and so that's also a priority to keep those outlets in. We can do them in a different fashion, or even, like I said, different manufacturer, different supplier, that's something that we'll take a look at. Getting revised quotes, that will take us some time, several days, if not a couple of weeks, kind of thing. So, that's how we're from that.
Okay,
How things are on.
so I sent you guys in your packet, I had Brandon update to include, base plus alternate two, so that you would have all of the options in front of you. So, first, it will be the recommendation that we still award base plus both alternates, because that gives us the biggest amount that we can have a moving target. Because whatever we award, due to Okra's requirements, we would only be able to reduce 20%. So if we award it all, then that gives us more opportunity to wiggle. So what will happen is we'll award it, then we'll go back in with change orders to reduce it down to whatever amount you guys feel comfortable truly doing. Did I say that right, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so, the base only would generate for a 4,000 gallon, which is the state average increase over our current rate, would be an increase of $18.03. If we did base plus alternate two, that increase will go up to $19.42. If we do base and only alternate one, that for the bonding figure, that would be $20.75. And if we do all of it, and you're good with bonding all of it, it would be $22.43 increase on a 4,000 gallon bill. So you have a range from 18 to 22.
$4.
I know. And the thing is, we've got 7 more years. Like, once we start this, we can't do anything else for another bond for 7 years, correct?
In sewer, we won't
In
get any
sewer.
more okra for 7 in sewer. But you also need to understand that you guys are getting ready to go straight into a stormwater project, which is also gonna raise rates. So I believe there has to be a balance of what we feel comfortable now, because this time next year, we're probably raising rates for stormwater significantly.
We don't know how much it is gonna be raised for stormwater
Probably,
$20.
a month.
I mean, if you're talking $1 million, maybe.
So we would have the $20, and then if we did this whole thing here, another
Another
$22, that's,
So I think that that's the balancing.
I mean, that was gonna be a 40-year for the stormwater. So I mean, you might be able to cut that in half, so I mean, you're $10, so $30 over the next 2 years.
I didn't know we were gonna be raised again, because I thought, well, if we're gonna raise $2, might as well raise $4 and get it all done, but now it's another one coming next year, that might be too much.
I think we at least need to have one of the alternates, just because it's the lining.
But you need to understand that we can still, we
You're
may
gonna
still
award
be
all
able
of
to,
it.
well, we still may, just because this is just a dollar figure of what you want to borrow, we still be able to cut out of the base and do this. It's just, what do you feel comfortable borrowing to the rate increase? And then we'll finish building the project
Yeah.
around that total.
When do you borrow, or when do we borrow? Early in the project?
Yeah,
End
like,
of the project?
Yeah, so closing is tentatively set for July 1st.
Okay.
So that's why we thought we had a little more time to come up with what's really, but we don't have time. because of the Indiana Bond Bank's deadlines.
So you're asking us to, if we want to do all of it and then have that reduction, but we're going to tell the bond bank that we're only going to do the $18.
Right,
So that's going to be our target.
right. So what we would do is we're gonna go
Is-
into the bond bank and we're gonna, so let's say you only want the base only, the $18. We're gonna go tell the finance people, we're only gonna borrow 720, and then that's their target to go do the project.
And we'll start having weekly bake sales to make sure.
I'll bring a lemonade.
Your cheesecake can bring a lot.
So that's, I mean, we were hoping we would be able to have a more correct number, but we just don't have time to have that correct number. So we're just gonna have to kind of go backwards.
With that structure, that was like alternate one, if I remember right, what, kind of like the price of alternate one to cover that.
It's the order of magnitude of alternate one, yeah. So if we can find, because there's other work we'll have to do to make it work right, the fixing the electrical heat tape, tracking that issue down and making sure it's functioning correctly, and then we're also probably gonna recommend a windscreen of some kind, because wind is probably the biggest reason why, one of the big factors anyway. That wouldn't be a costly thing, but it's, while we're here,
But it didn't freeze before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my point, before the heat tape situation and they weren't using the winter mode,
Mhm.
before those two things stopped,
We
we
didn't
weren't
have
having a freezing issue. So I just don't think that that's, I mean, if we fix those things and it's still a problem, maybe in 7 years, we fix it. I mean, we've been working it this way for 3 years now, 4 years.
so the way it would work with the contractor is we would contract with everything that's in their bid and accept alternate one and alternate two in the base contract, but only issue a notice to proceed on the base bid scope of work. And as we go through the process of identifying these ideas and vetting them, and come to you with a change order number one, that would then reduce scope and cost for the base bid to some amount down. Then you have the ability to, you can issue and just proceed on alternate one or alternate two. Because those alternates are the same type of work, it's not really a concern there. The contractor's not gonna be helped or hurt if you choose to do it or not. So it's easy to reduce the contract at the end if we're not able to afford sale alternate two ever. We'll just do a change order to delete those pay items and that cost from the contract, so it would come off.
So if we do that, we go to the bond, and say we're gonna raise it the full amount, and then we do those things.
Yeah.
You still are stuck with the
Yes,
rate hike.
yes, that's
Does
why
it
we're
get
not
paid off
doing
faster,
this
though?
now.
Would it be paid off faster where it's still wondering where the money goes?
The money would just go to possibly reduce rates in the future, depreciation to make improvements later, but I mean, you're borrowing the money at that point, so the rate is the rate. It's not like you can return the money and get into debt. It's just like a
Can't refinance.
refinance after what, 10 years maybe?
Yes.
It's like,
You can, I don't know that would cause you to reduce your rates.
Right, right. So that's why we needed to have this conversation. And it is a little backwards than what we would, but we have done this before. We have said, this is as much as we're doing build a project, so we have done it this way before. It's not,
And it's worked out.
it is,
It did work out. Is it more headaches to do the project this way? Maybe, but it does work out in the long run.
So you said you approved a lower amount and then went back and tried to cut things? that what you're saying?
We have actually said we're only borrowing this amount, so yes,
So
this
we just
is the
have
project that we're building.
So if you had a mile stretch of road and you had a fund for a half mile, then.
We
that's
still
what
need the last
project
half mile.
So,
And I think we can, I hope we don't have to, but we can do that if necessary with the sewer line. Because it's a linear thing, we'll go from this manhole, that manhole, we can't, before we go to the next one. So we can spend right to whatever threshold you set and get as much of your priorities done as available.
So, like, with the water project that was on First Street, there was leftover funds.
Mhm.
Is this going to be the same scenario where,
It
Could be.
We hope not, we hope we would be building it and adding these manhole sections to expend all the money, but there's always that, if there's a change order that reduces it more than what you borrowed, you just have money left to do other improvements,
Just within that utility.
yeah, within that scope.
Of what we borrowed the money for.
So basically, we gotta figure out if it's 18, 19, 20, or 22. And then they'll finagle the project to meet that pay increase, the rate increase.
Well, do we go halfway or do we go all the way? I mean, just like, you're looking at $2, but how big of an impact is that gonna make, you know, that extra $2?
I mean, we do know that we can take the structure out. I mean, we do know that, because I really don't think that that's a necessary component.
Whatever everybody else thinks.
I'm kind of in between like the 18 and the 19. But I would like to say we can do, 22, but I don't think that's realistic knowing what's coming down the line.
Maybe the 19.
well, that 1942, with that structure coming out, I think that would cover the alternate one,
And then that would give us alternate 2.
and we should alternate 2,
Mhm.
and be sufficient funds.
Mhm. That's how I was looking at it. Because the structure is just about equal to what alternate bid 1 is. And then if we go up and try to get alternate 2, that would be the 1942. And hope that we can get 1 and 2 into the project.
Can I see that? Sure.
You sure can.
So. Still can't. Wish we had a scenario where I gave the number.
I know, right?
It's somewhere between
Mhm.
the 18 and the 20. It's like 19, like you said, Amy.
Mhm.
Because I think that, because I'm thinking in terms of the total contract price and $1,026,000, if it was $1,050,000, that's what that's what I'd ask him to run and say, because I think that's something that's very achievable and maybe get all the lighting done.
For the 1942, for the 19 possibly?
No, for maybe less than that, for 19 total, not 19.
Because we can tell him we want to just do $19, right? Or do we have to be the 1942? You see what I'm saying? Can we
Right.
arbitrarily say, we only want to do 1856, like pull a number out of our hat, right? Like, I don't know.
Well,
For 1818,
Or is that gonna cost us more because he's gonna have to go configure more
no,
numbers?
but I just think that, he's looking for us to say this is the bond amount and then he works into
Right.
the rate, so.
Is that what you're looking at? Is
mean, that was just my question, like, can we just,
So it's gonna be $1.39 from the 18 to the 1942.
So we're at
What do you guys think for the 19, or should we stick with the 18?
I don't want my water bill to go up at all.
I know. I hear you, my dear, I hear you.
I understand.
you're caught hard, between a rock and a hard place. Things need to be fixed. You can't fix them
Just like home.
unless you have more money.
So, you say you understand, but you're leaning,
I'm looking at somewhere around $20. I mean, the 1942, we take out whatever we can. We don't need a building. I'm with you on that. I'm like, if we haven't had a freezing problem, I mean, that sewer plant's been down there for how long? Since I was a kid. And
so when they put the structure in back in, do you remember what year that was? The street.
That was when I first started, so probably 10, 11, 12 years ago. Has it been that
I was
long?
gonna say 2016.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that's when the
Right on, I
screening
started.
system got put in.
okay,
Then there's a winter mode that somehow got disabled and never turned back on, that people weren't aware that it was there to do. And then the heat tape had quit working, and rather than like go down into the ground and fix it, they just basically cut it off and did the outside. Well, obviously, in the ground it's still freezing. So between those two components, we started having a freeze issue. So to solve keeping it from freezing, during the winter, we've just ran water continuously, which then causes another issue. So we were trying to solve it. In the work of them doing investigating, it was discovered later in the project, after we had said, let's build a structure, that these other two things hadn't been happening. So I say, surely it's gonna be cheaper to fix those two components
Then build a building.
than to build a structure around it. And let's see what that does for us. Because when it first was done, we did not have a freezing issue.
I'm leaning on the 1942. Yes. It's kind of halfway in between, and hopefully we get our,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
1942.
19.
Yeah.
So we're gonna borrow $795,000.
you said,
Say $2.
and Jack. All in favor? All opposed?
Now, once they redo all of this and do the $795 and the rounding, he said it might be a few pennies one way or the other.
This is what we said.
I took less, but not more.
Right. Well, it's noted that I gave you the info.
Gotta put up a privacy fence.
All right, now I guess we're going to the notice of award for the wastewater treatment project.
Yes, and this will be the paperwork that we send to FH Passion, notifying them that they're formally awarded the project to include the base bid, alternate 1 and alternate 2. And also, we added a note on the bottom that says final construction agreement issuance continuous procurement of Oak Grove release funds and securement of local matching funds, which is your bond closing. And so there, and it states other places in the contract documents that there's no guarantees they're gonna do all this work, so, and they understand that, so. They've been really responsive and good to work with so far, and we hope that will continue, that it will. But if you could move and approve the notice of award.
I'll make a motion to proceed with the notice of award for FH Passion for the wastewater treatment project.
I'll second.
All in favor? All opposed? Now we have the DC construction notice to proceed.
Yes, so this is the CCMG project from the 2026 call. And DC Construction was awarded this, and you've got the construction agreement signed with them. We sent that into NDOT, and Trevat's received the purchase order, and I think you actually received the money.
I have.
Wow.
We have no reason not to get going, so.
Let's get it, move on.
That's the green light to be able to issue the notice receipt to them, and then that allows us to schedule a pre-construction meeting and then to get to work in their schedule and start procuring anything they might need, but it's just, they shouldn't have an issue with that. It's mostly just getting it in their schedule. And as soon as we get this to them, we'll get that on the calendar and include the town, and then probably walk the streets and see if they have any questions and see what their schedule looks like. The completion date, substantial, is September 4th, and the final, ready for final payment is September 18th. So they're gonna have to get.
Need a motion.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I make a motion for the DC construction notice to proceed for the 2026 CCMG project.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And it was nice to see the last year's project.
Yes,
Yes.
their payment solutions is crack sealing.
Oxford looks like.
Well, that's.
When we drove out
Crack
there
sealing. They're like,
in the morning when the
minimum
sun's
crack size
hitting.
that they're supposed to be sealing when they go across the.
technically, yes, there is. Are they missing some, or are they doing more than they need to?
I think they're doing less than they need to.
We have an inspector that's keeping an eye on it, so I can let him know, hey, take a look and see if you can see what you're seeing.
It looks like just
Talk to 'em.
squiggly lines.
And then, well, there are lots of squiggly
Cracks?
lines, but.
Are they missing cracks?
And they were,
Yeah, right out where they did mine, I was like, I mean, pretty much they gotta top coat the whole thing. I mean, there's that many cracks in that area, but I mean, I took a picture.
Okay.
they were doing good this morning with traffic control, because they were right on the other side of the road of the track this
But I
morning,
mean,
so like.
I didn't know whether
There is,
specification.
there are specifications and all that, and, but you can see the crack, it's probably supposed to get crack seal kind of thing, so. But, and if it's an area that's just completely alligator, this crack seal really gonna do a lot of good. Never serve the payment, it's really meant to be,
Basically, I have the alligator there, so.
yeah. They should try to hit the whole area, because that's what we have them here to do, even though the pavement in that spot has probably deteriorated beyond the point where crack seal is gonna keep it from, it's not gonna save it. Like on a new resurface, 2-3 years later, those first initial cracks, those are when you wanna get the crack seal on, because that's what promotes it, continues to get worse, and it becomes an alligator area. So, more moisture, water, something gets in, just grows it.
So the CCNG project is the road work, right? And so are they striping the road we're gonna be replacing?
No.
Okay.
Most everything, there was a lot of streets on crack seal, some that were not part of the previous CCMG, but the biggest portion of the work was roads that were resurfaced.
Okay.
Within the last, 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
So, or that had been crack sealed once and ready for it again.
You're talking about the track control, like,
Mhm.
so we resurfaced, we're down to,
Down to just past Fifth Street, no cracks on Main Street, are you talking? Yeah, that they'll stop crack sealing there, but then we will come in with DC and a little bit farther south, there'll be a gap, but then they're gonna mill and resurface a portion of South Main. Past the crack sealing,
Don't resurface the whole thing.
not all of Main Street.
No, but it's not gonna just be crack seal, it'll be resurfaced.
No, this next one
The
will
next
be,
one,
they'll be
yes.
milling down and resurfacing.
Okay,
Just, yeah.
The certain sections that were in that.
okay.
Okay, anything else, Dave?
I don't think so.
Not that that wasn't a lot, but. All right, we'll move on to the approval of the May 2026 minutes. Anybody find anything in there?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 minutes.
One second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Claims. General, 13,583.39, Development Fund, 10,425.83, LECE, Police Training, 37.42, Community Center Fund, 100, Otterburn Utilities, 91,760.58, Water Operating, 19,323.91, Water Bond and Interest, 35,101.50, Customer Utility Deposit Fund, 450, Wastewater Treatment Operating, 18,125.11, Wastewater Treatment Construction Fund, 11,950, Stormwater Utility Operating, 1,399.81, Payroll, 23,869.55, for a grand total of 226,127.10.
I'll make the motion to approve the claims.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, department head reports. Mr. Tim Clark.
I'll run through mine pretty quick. Safety training is a monthly thing still, but we have to have a meeting next Thursday, so I'll go with Russell to make sure we're on the schedule. I'm glad that Judd is still here. I made contact with the county on Monday after the county commissioners meeting to talk about the cell tower and getting the proper paperwork so they can actually put it on our property because of the drainage easement that goes to the county, which is the county's property. So I'm working on that with them to get approval that we can get a variance for that project. Still working on, I know that we have to have a meeting and I want to get a meeting scheduled for BZA and APC. So I'll talk to, because I'll be here tomorrow, I'll talk to Dee about getting something out. We'll get something on the schedule so we can schedule that meeting. Permits were up to 31 by the end of May at $6,000. ADA, there's two things that we need to talk about with ADA, and one is, and we'll talk about it after I have a meeting with Mr. Kirkhoff about what he wants to do with the park. He had sent me an email about getting together to have a meeting.
He's just emailing everybody.
He has no business doing that.
So, and
It
then,
was on my list to talk to you about.
and then I talked to Russell today in regards to these park benches going along the new trail.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have to do. I know that somebody wants them put in a certain place, but we have to make sure that they're still accessible. So we may have to relocate a little bit one way or the other. So it's something that will be pretty easy to do. So Russell and I will talk about it because he'd asked me to look at it and I looked at it coming in here. So the only other thing that I have is I'm working on, I received the as-bills from Mainstream, so we can, and I'll get with Dave and Colin on this, that do we put the locations of their fiber in our system somewhere? Is that something you want to do?
It's not our utility.
Okay, but I am doing the count on every board that they did through our roads to make sure we get paid for what the number that they actually did.
Yeah.
So I finally got those drawings. And then the last thing that I have is, and this was at no expense to the town, but we had an issue with Keith Colt's property at Indiana and First Street. We have some pictures, but that's all being worked through with Mainstream and TPI because they went through the sewer lateral completely. Said it wasn't their issue, but we have pictures to show that their sewer, the new fiber literally goes dead center through the sewer pipe. So they originally said, well, just have a plumber come out and fix it. It's like, that's not a plumber's job to mess with your fiber. You gotta move the fiber, we can't move our pipe.
Yeah.
So they're working on that, and that's, as I talked to Keith after I talked to Mainstream, that this is an issue that he needs to deal with Mainstream, and this is not part of the town. So I just want you to know that I've made some phone calls, but I'm not keeping track of it in my time. I just want to make sure he's taken care of through this whole process, so.
Okay.
So, since you did bring that up, because I was going to ask Judd about that. So, as we all know, Main Street has made a mess throughout the entire town. An extreme mess throughout the town. Of course, we keep giving the residents when they call and complain, this Kevin who was part of thing, well, he just, okay, we'll take care of it, they don't. They are way up in the middle of people's yards. They hooked up, for instance, this is just one instance of several. They hooked up my neighbor, but instead of going in the neighbor's yard, they went clear across my yard and clear up the side of my yard. And so Russell went and asked not a Kevin, but somebody above Kevin, do you just do this to everybody? Like, do we not have any say in this? And he goes, oh, well, that was trespassing. And Russell says, okay. But it's just falling on deaf ears. I mean, it is a mess all over this town. Is there anything we can do?
Did they, so they've installed the lines in places that they did not have easements to install lines?
Yep.
Like sewer lines.
So that all needs to be documented because all of that needs easements. I mean, when they need repaired now, people are gonna be walking through your yard and tearing it up, and there's no agreement that they restore it to the condition it was, because there's no easement that goes with it. So all of the easements need to be fixed. They shouldn't be, I mean, if this is installed, it may be all too late, and then we're just papering the issue of, we'll make easements where you actually put it in rather than where you're supposed to. I don't know, like installing in the middle of yards versus like, I guess at the edge of the yard or?
Correct.
Okay, so that's how mine, I'm with Mainstream in Fowler. My hookup comes out of a, whatever this is.
Flower
Flower pot.
It's literally right on my boundary line with my neighbor. And, then they went all the way through my yard and around the back of my house. And
That's for your service.
right,
Yeah.
right. But, so to your neighbor, is that for their service or is that to get them a connection to have service?
So that is for them to get their connection to have service.
So it's not even done yet? I mean, it's done as far as your yard is concerned, but.
They put another flower pot in between your yard.
So there is, whatever the thing is in the front of my yard, which, and then they went off of there and it just looks like a little trench and it goes across my yard and then it turns and goes up the side of my property like hundreds of feet to their house.
And I mean, they got a bunch of lines to services that they still have to trench in.
So they're not done yet?
They got them laying around town on top.
Yeah.
They're done with the mains, they're just not done with the laterals that go to the house.
So they submitted plans of where they intended to put fiber optic, and they're just not within their plans.
The only plans that they gave us was what they're doing for the mains, not the lateral going to the house.
But your issue would have been with the main, right?
No.
No, I think
It's the
lateral
lateral going to the
It's
house.
allowed to go into their house. They went through but then, we hear this like, it's not just me, we've heard this a lot, numerous. And then on down my street, they did move the main
Right.
in a couple people's
Two
yards. And
yards.
we thought they were gonna come on down and fix it, but then they never did.
They haven't fixed the one down by us.
They haven't fixed the one down by your house. I mean, it's just.
I fixed my own. I'm looking at it.
You can issue a stop work order on this, in my opinion, if they're outside of what they're supposed to be doing. It sounds like you're getting a collection of problems here that aren't getting better with age, and they're just gonna keep making the same problems. I would do a stop work order and make somebody come and discuss, here's a list of all of the problems that we've got so far. We need to correct those before you proceed, and we need to make sure you don't do those problems again as you proceed.
Because I'll be here tomorrow, so I'll do that tomorrow. And I'll go to the top, I'll pass all the field guys that are here and go straight to Wendy is the person that we deal with on all this, so.
That's how you get their attention, because they're trying to get the hell out of Dodge. They probably got some other project lined up that they're chomping at the bit to do. I would stop
I've
them and
never
say,
done this, waited 5 years for them to come.
we're gonna take care of everything in Hunterdon that's happened so far before we let you go forward. Because once they finish, whatever they're trying to finish, you're never gonna, they're gonna send a couple of guys back to do some landscaping and seeding and.
How do we go about the people that have the stuff through their sewers? I mean, the water pipes is easy to figure out because that drops pressure, but when you spend weeks or months before you get a backup.
I'm not really familiar with that problem, so why don't you educate me, what are we
Well,
talking
like the
about?
one person that had their line got ready to
Cut.
be, if it takes a while to present. is it
You're
easy
saying
to
there
go
may be
back?
other
Then,
lines that.
yeah, well, how many others are going to pop up
But I
in a
would.
week, 2 weeks?
Exactly why in a stop work order, you get their attention on the ones that you know about, because now they're gonna be more careful about that, knowing that they're gonna have to fix them. But don't they call in locates when they do their?
They do,
They're supposed to.
but here's the issue with locates. They're not locating what's on private property. Because like Treva she doesn't get a work order ticket that says, we're coming through your yard. We, as the town, get a ticket that we have to mark
The mains.
the mains,
Yes.
but there's nothing that says the laterals.
Yeah, the lateral of the sewers from the houses that they've had, I mean.
So when I got hooked up, when I got my lateral, I had, 811 called and my yard was all marked up.
There was flags all over town.
Yeah.
But most of the flags were in the right of ways
Right.
Right,
when they did that.
Or, yeah, right.
but they probably are not calling for the laterals.
No,
No, because.
Wintech did for mine.
Wintech did for mine, when Wintech put
Yeah,
mine
they're
in.
not, they're,
Yeah, I mean, anybody digging in any property in the town has to call.
So- so,
But when they hit the sewer lines, unless Keith's was their lateral into the.
it's their lateral,
it's their
it's
lateral.
their lateral.
Okay,
And there's been several laterals that have been hit.
Right.
Wow.
And I know that Mainstream did come and fix one.
Yeah, I mean, I would, and then after they fix that list of what's already happened, if they start proceeding again and one other thing happens, I would shut it down again. Because just to have that manpower on standby while they're looking around at this, it's gotta get all these problems taken care of faster.
Okay.
I mean, that's your authority. I mean, that's all you. There's not an appeal. So they could appeal your determination to the BZA, which will take 30 days to set up. So we'll just, and I know on the one hand, there's intention to get your project done and in and over with, and for them to finish it and move on, you're never gonna get this fixed if you wait till the end. I mean, you're gonna have to catch them, make them catch up now and make them aware of these problems, so maybe some of them can be reduced in the future. But this easement problem, that's a problem. I mean, I hate towns, I hate having to go research easements, and it wasn't done, and I mean, they are trespassing, that's a true statement. I mean, you could technically call them up and say, get your stuff off my property and repair it. But that'll pass in 2 years, and that won't be your right anymore. That'll just be the way it is. That you gotta, so if you're getting those and can see approximately where they are, it doesn't have to be perfect to have an easement, but it has to be from the property owner to the town to be able to go in and maintain it if we had to, or if your contractors had to, Mainstream's contractors had to. Otherwise, you could literally say, stay off my property. You post a no trespassing sign and they could literally be hooked up on your property and taken in. No kidding. So that's why it's a big deal. Property rights are king. And I'm surprised to hear they're flying without easements, that's kind of crazy talk, but they'd be given an as-built if it shows the private property where it goes over private property, that would be really helpful. I don't know that it's our job to be preparing easements, but I'd have to look at
That's
the,
why I'm like,
because that's gonna be some
so
time.
I guess, so we'll just talk about my street, because that's what I know. So Briar is supposed to be, I know that the town received a utility easement back in 1996 or 97 for 15 feet on my side of the road. So there's 15 feet easement, that's the town's easement. So I was assuming they would stay within
Sure.
that 15 feet. So on one end, closer to me, it's like 16, 17 feet. But down at the other end, they are way up in people's, like, in their yards. So I'm like, I don't think that's very cool. And then we've had other residents in
So if they had
calling
stayed
about
in
that.
the easement or in the right of way, whatever, the right of way works for an easement too, because you guys own it. And they have been given permission to use your rights of way, I remember that much of the contract, that's where they're supposed to be, is within the right of way. If they're outside, in my opinion, they had permission to do it one way, they chose to do it another. The cost of getting easements should fall squarely on them, because you've already given them permission to use your stuff, they just ignored that, or had crews out here that didn't know.
Could run a straight line.
Which is not our problem, but, yeah, somebody needs to pay for those easements, I wouldn't let them go.
Okay,
Well, it's causing extra phone calls from the town,
Oh
extra
my gosh, it's
hassle,
right.
extra work.
Well, wait till you start doing work on your sewers and water lines and you're sitting there cutting through their, I hope are there lines with the metal, with the wire? Yeah, so they can look, yeah. That Fowler had to negotiate for that. I mean, they weren't just going to do it, it's just like,
Are you sure
we-
about that?
With this company, I couldn't say yay, nay, or indifferent,
well,
nothing will.
they actually brought in a sample so you could see what it was, because so many people were asking so many questions, and there's kind of like a light sized wire and a heavy sized wire that shows up a lot easier, and they were made to do the heavier sized wire, so it showed up they were supposed to, it's got a different color to it, so you could eyeball it and see that they were using the right material. Like one was blue and one was yellow, or I don't know what they were, different colors.
well, we're running into, because Mainstream's not the one that's actually running the fiber until they get to the flower pot to your house. They sub everything else out. I mean, WinTech does the same thing, but the company that WinTech uses was obviously completely different than what we're seeing, the two companies that were actually here in town. I mean,
They didn't try to do it all in a week.
they were trying
That was
to,
it.
well, they were given a deadline, which, my question to Aaron and Kevin was, you guys are 4 years behind the deadline.
Yeah.
This was supposed to have been done 4 years ago.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
when you're being told that your deadline is now the end of April, why is it all of a sudden this major push that you've only got so many days to get this done? So they were doing everything they could to slam in whatever they could to get in and out, and that's not.
And it shows,
Uh-huh.
absolutely shows.
It shows the whole 4 years, it showed.
Yeah.
I had one of the dudes come and knock on my door, wanting to know if I wanted mainstream, and I said, let me tell you, you're asking the wrong
That's what I told
I said, I know you don't have anything to do, you're just selling the service. But I said, there'd be no way, and that I would go with mainstream.
Took it on my door.
He goes, really? And I said, really? So you might as well just keep walking, because I ain't discussing. He goes, wow. Connor goes, dang, Mom. I said, well, I knew too much, and he asked the wrong
Do you want
person.
me to send you a copy of what we're gonna send before we send it?
Yeah, but I mean, it can say you're officially ordered to stop work on this project until you address all of these issues. We have a sit down, identify a list of issues that we both agree on and sign off on, and then you go fix them, and then I'm gonna go back and check your work, and then I'll sign off, we'll both sign off that it's time to restart the contract again. I would catch them before.
But at
they're
this
done.
point, if they put all the infrastructure in, what are you gonna, can you stop them from looking up laterals?
No.
Absolutely. They can't do any work in town unless he says they can do work.
Okay.
And make sure we get our money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like the cut sewer laterals are, those, as soon as they're discovered, I mean, work must stop and they've got to come back and do it. That's gonna cause them to be a little more cautious about it, but I thought maybe call in 811, for instance.
Yeah, do that first, because we know what that costs, right?
Yeah. I don't understand why you'd skip that step. That could be
Fail.
a major
So
catastrophe.
I guess I'm confused, who marks the laterals?
So the town
Mains.
marks its utilities, the, if there's
Utilities.
phone or whoever, utility, electric, or gas, whoever NIPSCO or REMC does that marking.
But I think she said,
Who does the sewer lateral though?
Wouldn't that be the town?
No.
We don't know
We
the
just do the
names.
names.
so private utilities,
Oh, because they install, I see, you don't do work on it, so you don't need an easement to be in their
Right.
property. I see.
yeah. And that's the issue that we're having is, like Keith is saying, one of the first things he said was, I didn't even know they were coming through. So how am I supposed to mark something when I don't get a utility ticket, I don't get the 811 ticket?
Because we
that
assumed
says-
they were staying in the easements and they wouldn't
Right,
have out on
yeah.
our stuff.
Yeah, so
They're not.
maybe that's how it needs to be presented. If you're going cross country, you need to have the property owner mark it. If you're gonna stay within the easement, you could just use the utilities that get marked by the town.
So
How
this
am I
is,
supposed to know where my lateral's at? I know where it's coming out of the house, but I mean, where it
You
goes
could-
under the ground.
Usually, and I'm just saying from my experience in Oxford, I'm doing this very drill, where it goes into the house and where it connects to the main in the
So much
street,
straight line.
it's a straight line. And the easement would say, like 5 or 10 feet on either side of that line.
Or
what,
two houses joined together into one that goes,
True.
which is what we did a lot of.
I think that the way Judd's explaining this is, if they were in the easement when they were doing the drilling, we marked it.
Yeah,
But they were outside of the easement where they're hitting these laterals, because if they know they're gonna be outside the easement, then they're responsible to contact the homeowner
Yeah,
to say, hey, look, we're gonna be on your property, otherwise we're gonna be trespassing. We're outside of the easement, we're gonna be on your property to run this, is that, A, is it okay? And B, we're gonna have to get this located, because I can't do anything until it's located.
so does Mainstream have a person on site? Fowler had that was like the go-to person, and everything had to run through that person. And if it didn't work, and so we had many work stoppages in Fowler where, we shut it down until we got the answers or the repairs or whatever we needed, and then we would fire it back up again. And the idle crews, four-man crews that are trying to work all day and get this over with, they're just literally sitting around, waiting on this dispute to be resolved, and they're getting paid.
That was Kevin. And Kevin is new, and Kevin's the one that ices everything over, and then you never hear from him.
Yeah, I would just say, we're gonna have to start doing this on a complaint by complaint basis, and you will have to prove that you did what I asked you to do. You've addressed it, and then you can restart all of your crews again, but until you do, that's your power. I mean, that's a ton of power, and it's given you on purpose, because we can't be talking about it in 2-week meetings, because this is never gonna get fixed, I'll tell you now.
Right.
I mean, your yard, I would be surprised, and it'll be interesting to hear how that works out. I would say, you're not boring anything else, you're not trenching anything else until everything that we've got open right now is resolved, period.
Or you have to pay us a monthly fee to be able to use our property to get their service.
Well, the individuals sure could, but I mean, so what they're using is the town's permission to use its right of ways, and they believe that apparently the easement or the right of way goes over the entire property, or they can go where they wanna go. And I mean, so you're probably dealing with some people that don't understand the limited rights that have been granted. But to go across someone's yard, I'd be furious. I mean,
Our neighbor came and knocked on our door and they go, we are sorry that we don't expect them. We have got to call into so our neighbors even tried to call Mainstream and say, you're not in the right yard. It fell on deaf ears.
Oh my God.
So we were like, we're not mad at you, don't
That's
you
just
worry.
right.
We're fine."
Every issue, every single complaint should be given a number. And you should start a spreadsheet, and until that number is fixed, and signed off on, and fixed, and you agree, that's important. Then you get to say, I accept that this has been repaired.
And I'm gonna keep track of my time
For sure, this is
And
caused by them.
And bill them.
and bill them, yeah.
If they're not gonna have someone on site following what the plans are, then by God, you should bill them. And all those easements, that's gonna be a ton of money to prepare, because I did a 4-block area in Oxford where they redid some stuff on like Water Street. And we were doing that thing about, went in the house here and we think it's right here. And so literally somebody would pick a point on Beacon and say, it is from this property line to 25 feet. So we would say, at a point 25 feet from the corner of lot number 71 and running northwesterly to the center of the house, there's an easement there. And because people kept walking in people's property, and like one guy had a fenced in yard with a mean dog in it, and they had to finish under a certain time frame to complete the contract, and they're waiting on this house and this house owner to cooperate. And I'm just like, you guys are approaching so wrong. You know, that's on you. You know, that's, if you had worked this out with him. So what we said in Oxford was, if you give us, because we replaced a main, if you want to, we'll maintain the lateral if you give us an easement over your whole yard, because we didn't want to draw an easement. If you wouldn't give us an easement over your whole yard, that's fine. You maintain the lateral, we're shutting this main down that you're connected to, and you're gonna have nothing, because our obligation is to stick a main in. You gotta connect the lateral, that's your problem. And no one's coming on your property from the town to check anything until we have an easement, so you'll have to describe that. So we forced, literally, there's a 4-block area, this is a terrible way to get easements, by the way, to say the town can do anything they want on your property as long as it pertains to utilities, which is essentially what that is. Wherever they want, they can go right through your driveway, they can go through your flower beds, they don't have to go around things, they can take out a tree. That's way too much power, but the idea was to save costs and understand, we want to do it as cheaply as possible in a way that preserves the value of your house. We'll try, no matter the fact that we've got a utility even over your whole yard, we'll try and do it as tightly as we can. But if you don't want that, then you'll be working with a surveyor and a plumber, and you'll have to have a plumber that's got an excavator. It's gonna take some work.
So how's the town supposed to react to, they got a flower pot on the north side of the alley, and they connected the lateral to this south side of the alley, so they've got a little trench, like 6 inches down, like the line underneath.
In the alley?
In the alley to go across to the resident's house.
But they have in the alley, they've got a right to use the rights of way.
Yeah, but I mean, that's crossing the sewer too.
Is that why they only went 6 inches down?
Probably.
Or are you just trying to get, using an example?
No, they hand dug and buried it
Okay.
across the alley. So people wouldn't drive on that section, but until someone comes out in trenches, it's just laying on top of their yard.
That's incredible, because it's hard to fix when.
And I mean, it's just a lateral, so I mean, it's just running a new wire if the town wants to hit it when they do excavate it for any sewer work. I mean,
I'm a real literalist when it comes to easements. If they've got access to the right of way, they've got access to the right of way only. And if they need to go beyond that, they need permission.
Yeah.
They need to they may have to pay for it. I mean, if hers was the first yard and there were 4 houses beyond hers and they want to cut a corner and put it through her yard instead of the right of way, I would, I mean, if I didn't care about my yard the way I care about my yard, I'd say, yeah, man, I'm sure we can swing a deal. You know, I'm trying to decide if it's gonna be a lump sum payment or a monthly payment for 20 years. It's just, we got to decide on what this is gonna be. You know, I may not be here in 20 years, so let's do the lump sum payment. But all of a sudden, you're the gatekeeper. They don't want that. They want free use of, you know, the right of way. They gotta stay in the right of way. Once they're outside of the right of way, they lose all their power.
Yeah, I mean, they just were connecting the resident, so I mean, it's just.
It's between the resident and them, fine. But if they,
That's one spot, so how many spots do they go over
but he has the as-built.
utilities?
I'll be interested to see if he believes the as-bills accurately reflect what they did. Because,
Well,
If I was
it's not
to-
showing all the customers' connections, though.
right, it's just the
So,
names.
so I mean, you could have 1,000,000 wires strung across the top of all your utilities going to these flower pots, I mean.
Right. So to get to those though, to lay those cables, they had to trench. And so they trenched over the top of those utilities. I would say that if the town, well, so the town wouldn't be doing any work on their property, but if I was NIPSCO and had to do work on something under the property and took out a fiber optic line, I would say, you know, hopefully they respond to 811 calls, because if they don't, and I'm not sure that they do, right? My yard has never been marked by Mainstream after they put that line in. And I've called it, so I've had a couple of tents go up for parties in the side yard. And you call that into 811 because they're gonna be driving stakes, where you rent the tents makes you call 811. Mainstream doesn't come out. In fact, they put a stake right next to where I know that, you can see the grass seed that I put in there is a different color, and there's a stake right there, I'm like, oh dang, I hope they went beep. Because they're there with the sledge, so it worked out, but yeah, I mean, that's not a way to do that. So the people who really want the easement is Mainstream, not you.
Mhm.
But every time they come on your property, it will be a trespass. Without an easement.
You would get your sign up in your front yard.
I'm just saying,
No trespassing.
I've had 2 trials this year over whether a field ended at 30 feet shy of some boundary that everybody's used for 100 years. That's one, and in the other case, it was, somebody had a bad survey 100 years ago, and it's like 20 feet. And both of those went to trial after 3 years pending, but there's a ton of attorney's fees doing that, fighting about land rights. It's because it's serious business when you own it. Because now when you want to sell that, you got some interloper that screwed up your yard that feels like they can walk in your yard to repair anything anytime they want. And that will affect things. It's what happens if you dig a foundation and hit your line, hit their line. You're not responsible for anything on that. That's totally trespassing. So I can't believe they're putting in lines like that, because I don't think they put it in very deep. You know?
They don't.
So I mean, it's perfectly plausible that there are gonna be people working in their yards on whatever they're doing that are gonna be hitting those lines. It's a big deal to have that torn. I don't think you can splice it. I'm not sure about that. I think you gotta go back with a new run from the flower pot to the house, which means new trench. That's why you would wanna know where the lines are. Mainstream has been flying by the seat of their pants and saying they're the county.
For a long, long.
And maybe they all do. I'm sure Windtech doesn't. But they're a local. But I don't know what other towns deal with, but that's, coming into your property is just creating a long list of future problems for you. And the value of your property.
You need to take control now then.
Stop them.
You have
So I
to
mean,
fully-
yeah, I think you could require that they go back and do private easements between everybody whose line is outside the right of way. Because I think the town should know where those utilities are running so that we don't, when we're doing whatever we're doing, we don't tangle it up and become liable. I mean, I don't know, yeah, that's a terrible way to do it.
Well, what if I don't want to give them a larger easement? Just saying.
Then they gotta
Yeah,
run
they're
and
gonna
change it.
block.
Then they need to run it in the right, I mean, that's what I'm saying, there's a right way to do it, the minute you deviate from, it's not like they were without options. The minute they chose the path that they chose, they got.
They come and take it out and put it in the right way.
That's severe, but man, and that's what they would be doing if I was you, because I would not be having people coming through my yard to serve some other real estate. It's not.
Okay. Because like I said, I'll be here tomorrow, so
Okay,
we'll get it done.
Tim.
all right.
If that turns hairy, give me a shot, and let's get together and let's get it reset. Because I'll get their attorney on the line in our little meeting with their representative, and we'll come to some terms.
All righty. Trigger.
And then we'll go fix it.
Right.
Okay, I don't know if you wanna discuss this tonight or not, but Tim Kirkhoff gave his little presentation last time. And he wanted on the agenda tonight. And I said I didn't think you guys had had a chance to discuss it yet. So then he revised because we knew that we didn't like his positioning of the playground or the memorial or the donor building, whatever that is, in the middle of the playground. So this is his new version of where he'd like to put that in the new sidewalk area.
You're gonna need to look at this plan and last time's plan because we had ADA questions on his stuff there too. But
So, I don't know that you're still ready to discuss it,
No.
but I just wanted to present this, let you know that he is
I like,
wanting answers, he's wanting to get quotes on the concrete and get this going, but
I do know, not on this proposal, but on the stakes for the shade tent thing, they are not going inside our water facility, our water fence. That is no,
They can't, can they?
that's where he wants, and I said no. We said no last time with the fence. And now he wants his posts.
We moved
Inside.
the fence, right?
in an area.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But now he wants his posts for his shade sail to be inside the fence.
I gotta think about that shade sale. Why don't we do like a pavilion there, see if he wants to do a pavilion, that's something that's going to last longer instead of having to replace shade sails and take up and down, or, I mean,
Need stakes. I mean, that's why if you get rid of the whole sale thing, you get rid of the stake issue.
well, you'll still have posts, but a
Wouldn't you have the
pavilion,
post though go right to the fence, I would assume?
He wants to encroach in as much land as he can get at our park.
His reasoning behind the posts, right, because so originally the posts were gonna be on the
outside.
park side of the fence. But that was not gonna provide really enough shade. Moving them 3 feet back allowed for more shade when the sun was going down. Over the,
But he wants it on the other side of the fence line on our side, and I say no.
Didn't you refigure it though, put the post on the inside, not the inside where the water plants.
He hasn't as far as I know.
He's still wanting, last I knew, he still wants permission to put the post on the inside of our water
I like to see, I was trying to
tower.
see what he was saying.
And that should be an absolute
right.
no.
Right, I mean, if he wants to do it, I think the post ought to be on the inside where they're gonna pour all the concrete. Yes,
Because we've already moved the fence a little bit for him to begin with.
Well, and there was a part of that too, you wanted, the post couldn't go underneath the drip of the water tower, right? Is that what we, that was one of the concerns with going,
Closer in.
letting him do that.
The footprint of what we would need to have the shroud for recoating the tower take, so it's even, it's not the drip line of the tower,
Oh, okay.
it's like where the canopy would hang out.
Okay.
A future contractor is not gonna have to deal with draping it on that,
Mhm.
but he's not, I don't think he's in there. He's close.
If the posts were on the inside of the fence, he would be closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It's a
where's
whole
the
safety issue.
water mains run? Do they run under where this proposed concrete sidewalk is suggested? I mean, if you had to dig up main lines, I mean, then you're replacing concrete on top. I mean, you got such a lot more expense if there was any issues underneath the ground, since it's by the main water source. I mean,
I'm pretty sure the main goes from the tower directly, from the building directly west. And we have the spur that comes off that picks up there on the west side of the pavilion. Well, like I said, he sent me an email when I was in training the last 3 days. Said he wanted to have a meeting, and then, you know, you're showing me this, and, you know.
This is the revised.
This is the revised, but, you know, my thing is this, I mean, I'm not gonna tell you what to do or how to do things, but my recommendation would be is that this needs to be put off at least another meeting. Because, you know, some of the things that we need to be cognizant about is, with him putting in the sidewalk stuff, we need, and Treva and I talked about this when we were out there the one day, and that is, because we're gonna put a sidewalk in, we need to make a sidewalk that goes to these playground areas to make them all ADA accessible. And because you're doing what you're doing, this would be the right time to do it.
Cause on the other one, he wants to go all the way around the park with
There's
a
a walk,
concrete, like a walking trail on the outside of the park, all the way around as well.
I think that's enough.
Eventual, that might be the next phase.
Right, okay,
But we wanna make sure everything's ADA compliant,
right.
and we told him, and I hadn't talked to you, so I said, I have no answers for tonight. The only answer I know in my brain is I'm saying no to the post inside the fence.
right,
I mean, there's things that we need to make sure he does.
right.
Again, because we could, I mean, just looking at this drawing, we could very, and I apologize, I have years, we could very easily make him put a sidewalk in from, if this is where he agreed that he wants to put his little memorial, to pick up this playground area, pick up this playground area, extend this sidewalk over to pick up the playground area that's to the west of this one. Now's the time to do it, because it is a requirement that you have to give them access to the playground.
So add
my
that to
question
your
with that
list.
though is, I mean, you're having a concrete structure to the playground, but you have mulch.
Which is acceptable on the playground. I mean, there's requirements with the mulch, but mulch is acceptable on the playground area itself. But right now, we don't have access. You've got grass, but then we have our curb that goes around pretty much all of them to keep all the material in. You have to cut that material out so somebody in a wheelchair, somebody that's disabled for whatever reason, it's not a trip hazard for them. So,
So that's on your plate too.
that's okay. So I guess I'm gonna ask this question, and that is, because he did reach out to me and I heard the comments, but I feel like that if he wants to sit down and have a meeting with me, somebody else in this room should be in that meeting as well.
Correct.
So I'm just gonna ask for who's gonna be the volunteer to be in that meeting as well.
Probably me.
Okay.
And if he has to have issues with and they may have to
Right.
send.
Well, and I guess I'm gonna go another step, and that is listening to Brad and I know that we have it on our repertoire of materials that we can look exactly to see where exactly the water lines are from the tower itself, from the building of the tower itself, to know exactly where they're going, because that's all in our paperwork. I know Tom has that information, also all the guys have it, so.
Well, he needs to know where all the water lines are, because he's already got them drawn on here.
Right.
I mean,
On this side.
he needs to know that
This
information,
pavilion over here.
and we can come up with another plan.
So
It's still like-
Treva goes, Treva says, why can't this be on this side so it can be seen from the front of the,
When you
Yeah, and
first
he
get out of
said
here,
he
you
would
know,
move it.
yeah, he did, he moved it, he moved
wanted-
it from here
He moved it
to
just a
here.
little.
He wanted it in a place where it would be like in the middle of everything, so everybody would see it.
Right.
Cause it's got benches and people can sit and watch their children playing on the
And
playground.
those benches have to be ADA accessible.
right, and then you have to have, and part of that, you have to have an area that somebody can sit next to the loved one. So you can't have a bench that goes all the way around, because then now you're eliminating somebody. You're eliminating Jessie from being able to sit next to me, because she would have to sit in front of me or, to the side, but she can't sit beside me because the bench goes all the way
And
around.
just so you know, this building, he already has the bits and pieces
Okay,
sitting in his I'm just saying, in his garage, and he's itching to put it in.
I understand, but
But I think it needs to go
I'm not gonna argue that point.
I'm alright.
There's another, there's two parking places now.
Mhm.
And you park there and then you walk in.
Mhm.
So if it was a central location between those two somehow,
Mhm.
that would be the ideal place to put one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Instead
I
of
mean,
in the middle
you
of
know,
all the
this
playgrounds.
Mhm.
Somewhere in the middle.
When I said I wouldn't argue that point, I'm agreeing with what you're saying is, I'm saying, I'm gonna look at it from the standpoint
Right.
of, if we wanna make it ADA, that pavilion needs to be over by the parking spots, make the proper sidewalk at that point, and then do whatever sidewalk you want to get over to your new
Pickleball court.
pickleball court.
Sounds good.
Let me know.
Okay,
Text me, please. Don't, you can email me, but
I'll text you.
text me. You got my number?
You can't hide.
Too many people have my number. Mhm. All right, Ms. Triv, you got anything else for us?
Not.
Anybody else have anything else? Take a motion to adjourn at 7:23.
I'll make a motion to adjourn 7:23.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Where did those